This is Nick from Boston, and this is the Katie Black Show.
Hello, welcome to the Katie Black Show. And heads up, this is an episode only found on my YouTube page. What? But today I'm honored. I have with me
Onya Nerves.
Onya Nerves. By the way, first off, I love the name. How did you pick that name? How did it come to you?
Oh God, that is such a long story. I'll cut it down for you. I originally, when I came to Charlotte, I had a completely different name, and it was too pageantry. Like I sounded more like I was going out for Miss Homecoming than a drag queen. Mm-hmm. And I was at a show. I was kind of going through name changes, and I don't know if you've ever been to Snug Harbor.
Yeah.
But when they used to do Shiprocked all the time, the DJ there, Scott Weaver, he was a showrunner, and he was like, "What's your name?" I was like, "It's Onya," and it was very questionable. And he's like, "Onya Nerves." I was like, "Yes, that's it. That's my name now," and it stuck.
No, I love that. I love it. So many things to get into, per usual. And like some people know, some people don't. I just am going to be all over the place.
Perfect. Me too.
But first off, I always ask people, where were you born / where did you grow up?
So I was born and raised in South Dakota, in a very little town called Howard, town of like 500, and then you added all the dogs, so maybe 800.
And how did you get to Charlotte?
I was tired of freezing to death. That's really what it came down to. But a friend of mine that I met in college decided she was going to move down here because she met a girl at basic training, was like, "This is great. It's close to the mountains, close to the ocean. It's got a little bit of everything." What they failed to tell me is that it's humid. It is so humid down here.
Have you ever like adjusted or?
I mean, I've been out here for 10 years now, so like I kind of, but I think it's just my body's like, I guess we're not moving, so.
Right. Well, real quick before we get into like your background and everything, I always ask people, what do you think, especially for being here for a chunk of time, what do you think of the growth and everything that's going down in Charlotte? What's your vibes?
It's amazing, honestly. I don't think I've ever seen or been a part of a location that has ever changed this much. Like back home, we got little like leaps and bounds, but it's more like spreading. Like Sioux Falls is like our biggest city in the entire state back home, and it has just gotten wider and wider and wider. And I think it's encompassed like 3 other like suburb towns now that are just now part of Sioux Falls. But for here, like I've lived in like the Los, well, I guess it's now called Loso. For basically,
I'm just laughing. No, yeah,
it's so stupid, but like whatever, it's here to stay, I guess. But I've lived down here in this area for like 8 of the 10 years that I've been here, and it's insane the amount of growth. Like I drive and I see tens of skyscrapers being built with cranes all over the place. Like I don't think anybody's expected Charlotte to be this booming, like 250 years after being created. Like that's crazy.
Do you feel like and I ask this to everyone, do you feel like is Charlotte, like, are you here to stay forever? Or are you like, I have no predictions?
I never say forever, but I also didn't plan on being here for 10 years. So it's kind of like we'll stay if we stay, if we don't, we don't. Like it's nice to see that there's options that are being created here, especially in the line of work that I do. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if I'd ever say I would never move. Because that just cuts out a lot of opportunities.
How did you get into drag? How did that evolve in your life?
It's a very wild evolution, actually. So when I was in college, so many years ago, I grew up, well, of course, South Dakota, so very conservative. Back in my Republican days. Oh God, that's disgusting. She's not bipartisan at all. Don't worry about her. Anyways, I used to think of drag queens as gay clowns. And I would be like, I'm afraid of you. I'm afraid of you. And then I just realized that it was just more of a like, I wasn't comfortable with myself because living in the Midwest doesn't really allow you to be yourself. And then the more that I moved to Charlotte and got to go out more and got to see more, and I was like, I could do that. That's easy enough. And then basically what started off is just charity shows here and there, and then just amassing so much stuff. I was like, it's just sitting here in my closet. I might as well use it. And it slowly took over, and now it's my full-time job, which is wild.
Before I hit record, which I'm sure I've randomly said this throughout the years, but what is the secret to, well, first off, I don't put enough makeup on. I don't think I really have had the light bulb moment that doesn't transfer to camera. Is there any like hidden tricks or just basics that could
Yes and no. Like there's so many different little nuance things that we're kind of passed on through generation and generation of drag queen. I'm constantly learning something new from everyone I work with. They're like, yeah, you should do your contour here instead of here. Like, I don't know how many times I've been accosted by the TikTok filters. Like, you should do your blush up here. I'm like, well, why didn't I start doing that years ago? That's wonderful. It's more or less just theater. That's all it is. So you got to paint for the back row. The moment you think that you have enough on, you're probably not enough. Just add some more.
do you give any clout or whatever, I don't know what the right term is, to the Kardashians really bringing contouring to the mainstream? Do you ride that pony, or is that BS? Or
No, because they still don't contour enough.
to bring it to present day real time, how do you, for those that are not unaware, especially North Carolinians, of the bill that was filed last Tuesday, I believe?
Yes.
It is, correct me if I'm wrong, House Bill 673. How do you want to describe what that's about?
There's just so much within that bill that it's not really a drag ban per se, as it is like a living while trans ban, basically. It is so loosely defined as to what female and male impersonation is that if I, as a cis hetero, or not hetero, definitely not hetero, a cis man, we're walking out in drag to, say, the Quick Trip to pump my gas, and I had face on, boy clothes, but I have face on, I could be technically arrested under the verbiage of this bill, and it's not protecting anybody because they use the word Puritan or purative, or I can't remember the exact word.
Yeah.
But basically it's whatever someone else deems as sexually inappropriate. And you have people that are, covered up from head to toe because if they show an ankle, that's sexually explicit. Whereas I'm just walking down the street in a wig. You're just living. Like I'm not doing anything outside of that. And for the way that this is worded, and hopefully we'll have enough people in these committee meetings that will help and stick up for us, that'll get it changed like they did in Tennessee. But even then, it's very aggressive, but yet so loosely defined. And it's going to be a catch-all to where basically anything and everything that you see out there in the world, if you don't like it, you can call the cops and we'll get arrested for it. And it's fear-mongering is what it is. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's really hard to digest and understand. And I guess since I'm such a psychoanalyzer of everything, I'm like, what is this? And I think I told you this on the phone last week. Like, what is this like going backwards weirdness?
There's something that's brewing. I don't know what. I mean, I've seen enough conspiracy theorist TikToks to be like, okay, well, this could happen. This is kind of what's happening. But like, I've never understood, because like even 10 years ago, there wasn't this vitriol against people that you didn't know. And I definitely can say that while it's always probably been there, the last 8 years have really brought it to the forefront that, like, if I don't like you, I don't have to put up with you, and I'm going to be the loudest person in the room. Instead of before, it was at least, well, I don't like Susie, but her and her partner, they can just go do their thing. It's not bothering me. And I wish that there was more communication. I know right now a lot of efforts on the Democratic side that I've been helping raise money for, they've been doing their grassroots again and going door to door and just like trying to meet the people, because that is kind of part of the problem. Like, you have to be face to face with people to really understand what's going on and to get them to understand what we are. Which, like, that's always kind of been my thing for drag and drag shows in general, is I always go out into the areas that have the least representation, because while there may not be a gay bar or anything like that in the area, there's still going to be gay people. There's gay people everywhere. It's just they want to be represented. That's all.
Hmm. Yeah, I just don't. And this is like coming from me where I'm not a minority, I guess, as a woman, but I mean, I just do not understand. And also too, I wonder if it's this bigger thing of, or even like the abortion, all of these things. And like, I'm like, is this just, for some reason, I've always looked at it like from a vantage point of the country being obsessed what they think is related to sex or sexual.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is so, yeah, I mean, I sound like a broken record, but I don't know what that vantage point is of birth control, abortion, drag shows, gay marriage, you know what I mean? Of like the nucleus being sex. What do you think about that?
Oh, it's been absurd, because these protesters, I think I've had a good 20 shows of mine since last June protested by it's this Facebook group called Protect NC Kids, and it's ran by a pastor from Freedom House or Freedom House Church or something like that. It's a BS church where they have politicians. We've been trying to get them their tax exempt removed because they're just horrible people. But I've been called a groomer more times than I could ever imagine in my entire life. And if you only knew, like, one, just because there's kids at my show doesn't mean that I'm sexually attracted to kids. That's disgusting, first of all. Two, I have no less than 8 layers of fabric from my bare skin to the skin of another person at any time during a performance. And so to think that I'm going to waste my money buying these layers that I need to help me perform because I'm going to be sexually aroused by someone in the show is absurd.
No, yeah, like I said, I mean, it's honestly like, like people that need like lobotomies or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of like study of like, what is the sector of the country that feels this type of way and is so projective? I don't know if it's a projecting thing where it's like these people, I don't know. Maybe we'll never know. I don't know.
I don't think you're far off by saying it's projecting. I think it's more of you've been repressed for so long, and to see people out living their life in a way that's so freeing, I think terrifies you because you can't control them. And once you can't control a person, you start floundering and start calling names. And it's basically like dealing with a high school bully. Like, the moment you stop acknowledging them, they get upset and they throw things harder and faster until finally either they get their way or they end up ending their own circumstances. Like, it's just, right now we're going through a massive bully stage because I think over the last couple of years, we've realized that we can't give them any airtime. And for that, they've gotten louder and louder until finally it'll be, well, we can't do what we want anymore, so we're done. Like, we just have to get through that final stage, I think, and then we might be in the home run.
And I think another thing which you could say about anyone, but it's like, I don't know if it's like that Shakespeare quote where it's like, thy protest too much. It's like these people are so amped up about grooming and predatory, and that's all there's this like hamster wheel. And it's like, why is that such a, you get what I'm saying, obsession sector? I'm not saying that obviously children are, I just, it's weird that that is just the top of the line of, and also too, I saw this video of Chris Christie, which I'm, not crazy about, but I really am open to hearing everyone's opinion. But he was saying something at this convention about, what DeSantis is doing in Florida. Like, that is not the Republican foundation of the party. Is we don't want government in our life. So to see that side of the aisle tends to be injecting themselves in such personal things with using government forces is quite odd.
Oh, 100%. And it's just surprising that it's come from the group that was the loudest about we don't want government, and for them to turn around and be like, oh, well, you gotta protect our guns, you've got to do this and that and whatever, instead of just living our lives. And the fact that we've gotten here from where we were with Obama is just insane, because it's such a night and day difference that it's terrifying, absolutely terrifying.
Real quick before we move on, I was also thinking about this in my head because obviously you can see, like, I just think and analyze by myself. But I was when you said the Obama thing, I saw this like old school, well, not really old school, but 10 years ago, Obama interview on 60 Minutes. And I wondered that we've reached the pinnacle of like the black president, like, which we never thought could happen. Yeah. Is this the pendulum? Like, is this payback or something?
Definitely payback, because that's the only thing I could ever even equate it to, is that, oh, well, you got your way, so now we're just going to fight back and go the extreme other way, because that's how this works in their mind. Like, well, you got what you wanted, so now we're going to get it our way, however we want to, for the next however many years. And it's not how that works. Like, I don't know where we lost the sense of democracy, where like it's give and take, or it's take, and then it's going to be, we're going to take. Like, there's no one's winning either way. Like, right now we're all just shooting ourselves in the foot, no matter what way we're voting. And it's gotten to the point where, yes, I do vote clear down the aisles, but I remember when I was in college, I would still vote both sides if it was people that I thought were going to get the job done the best. And now I'm so afraid to even stray from the one side over the other, because you're going to take my rights away. And like, I've not done anything yet in my life. Like, I'm still young. I still have a good 60 some years left in my life that I'm going to have to deal with the consequences of all these people that are just taking because they want to.
Well, before we move on to your event that I want you to promote, do you think just as a country that like we'll just continue to just like it'll get worse before it gets better, or there's no getting better, or what's your prediction?
So I think it's always going to get worse, just because I always have to plan for the worst for everything, whether or not it works out or not. I'd much rather be, average than being let down. But I do think that there is chances of getting better. I don't think it's going to happen right now. I don't think it's going to happen in a year. It's definitely the long game, because unfortunately we play by the rules, and we just have to kind of slowly take back what we need to, what we can, any little chance we get. But I do know, like, we had our town meeting on Saturday that was supposed to be just a fun brunch, whatever, kind of hopefully plan for the future, what we know is probably going to happen. And then bam, the left foot dropped, and we got everything thrown at us at once, between the trans healthcare bans and the youth sports trans band and then the drag band, and we just got X, Y, and Z all at once. And meeting and talking with the politicians in our area that showed up, which so thankful for them. Talking about playing a 10-year game is terrifying because we have so many lives that are affected by the immediate bans that'll be affecting trans healthcare, and the children of these parents that are sitting there bawling because do we leave? Like, it's hard to look to the future when something so immediate is affecting your life right now.
Well, do you want to tell people this episode will come out on the night of the 25th about your event that you're a part of on the 27th?
Yeah. So we had planned this about 2 months ago. It was originally supposed to be a benefit for the Tennessee drag ban. But because it's now hitting home, we are throwing an event at Starlet on 22nd. We are having a bunch of local entertainers, kings, queens, and everything in between. We're going to be raising money for our own drag defense fund. Right now, I'm working with Equality NC and trying to figure out where best to send the money that we are raising, just because there's been a couple different issues with other groups that we were talking about. So we want to make sure it's going to at least stay local or stay as close to home as we can to benefit us. But please come out. It's free donation. There'll be a couple vendors there that'll be doing sketches and selling things to help raise money. And then hopefully we'll have a couple. I know I've got one lined up to come and speak from and it just slips my mind what he works for.
Okay.
But we'll be doing some speaking, some great performances, and I know that the venue will be doing 10% of bar sales. Will be going towards the cause as well. So come, even if you don't like drag, just come grab a drink, go sit outside by the fire. If you haven't been to Starlo on 22nd, it's a great venue. It's very much like I'm going to go hang out in my dad's garage, which I love. Because that's where I would be doing drag back home in South Dakota. It was just a garage in the backyard. So
I love it. And it's from 7 to 10, right?
Yes, correct.
Another big thing that I am zoned in on is generational. I'm assuming you're like myself, somewhere in the middle of the millennial decade, being born between either 1981 and 1996.
Correct.
Any thoughts on the generation, or
as in like millennials, or just like, yeah. Oh God.
Or just being part of that generation, or stereotypes, or just any thoughts?
I think, well, like, and you're from here, so you've always kind of been from a big city. So like, I think my millennial experience is maybe a little bit different than yours growing up in the Midwest, but just like, we're known as the generation that's like, you grew up with no internet to like, bam, internet. Well, like, I didn't have my first iPhone until iPhone 4. So like, cell phone service, all that stuff. I had a Nokia brick for like 12 years of my life, basically. Allegedly. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but but like, growing up in the Midwest, like, you literally would just disappear for hours and hours. And we had this lovely wrestling coach that was our backyard neighborhood, like 10 kids. And if you went too far and you could not hear him yelling to come home for dinner, you've gone too far. And if you could hear him yelling, that's when you also need to go home. So
I love that.
Yes. One of my favorites. Like, he was such a wild man. They raised chickens in their backyard, which like butted up to mine. So like, every 6 months or so, we just have random headless chickens just running our yards. Like,
wow, that's really cool. Okay, so on that sector, I'm obviously a little nostalgic, if you can't tell. Was wondering, did you have any posters of anyone on your wall? Like, who were you obsessed with musically growing up, or even an actor or actress?
Let's see. I mean, I was very much obsessed with Power Rangers. I think everyone kind of was in that time. Like, I just watched the Netflix special that they Once and Always, or Always and Forever, or something like that. I don't remember what it's called. It was okay. Not the best, but it was
What did they
okay.
highlight? Just the stories of all of them, or
No, it's like a modern day, like, let's keep up with like the original Power Rangers, and it was a great story. It was not long enough. It should have been a whole season instead of one episode, or well, an hour long like episode. I'm trying to think because like yeah, I did Power Rangers. Green Day was like my first like band I was ever in love with, which for some reason I feel like everyone kind of got started on Green Day, and then that just downward spiraled into all of my like emo, not a phase mom type shit.
I don't know, I just feel like their soundtrack at some point, like like there was some song that like you identified with or like
Oh,
gives you the feeling, you know?
100%. There was God because we had I think it was Basket Case was part of our like senior slideshow type shit, or God, what was the other one? Time of Your Life.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I have gone down the rabbit hole randomly just with Seinfeld.
Oh
Like,
shit.
not that I'm late to the party, but real quick, my parents were like obsessed with it. And I
Hmm.
was so young that I was like, this show like doesn't make any sense. So I kind of really wasn't about it until the last like 6 months, LOL. But
Right.
Time of Your Life, I feel like that was the song that they amped up for like the finale. Fun
Oh,
fact.
that yeah. I think they did the same thing with Friends. Like it's been used for it's such a closing like end of like segment kind of song. I think shit. I think even high schoolers to this day. My brother used it. He graduated 5 years after I did. So like I think it's just a staple at this point.
So, okay, final question before I let you do shout out to your social media and whatnot.
Yeah.
How would you describe Charlotte to someone that's never been?
Oh God. Okay, so Charlotte to someone who's never been, it's lively. The variety is always going to be there. If you are a party goer, if you are a stay at home kind of person, you like it quiet, like there's something for everyone. Like food wise, the food is amazing. Like I'm so happy that we have two culinary colleges because there's something new popping up like every 2 months. And whether it's a food cart or a new venue, like it's insane how much food is available in Charlotte.
True
It's
that.
like one of my first things that I tell people. So you're gonna eat a lot, like a lot.
I haven't heard that. I love that. Okay, I said that was the last question, but I still have a good 9 minutes left or so. Well, okay, to backtrack to the clairvoyant stuff, not that this
Mhm,
is that, but obviously you can tell I'm in that vibe world. Have you
mhm.
ever seen a ghost or something unexplained?
Oh, yes. I've seen quite a few ghosts.
Here in
So
Charlotte or back home or?
I have not seen one in Charlotte yet. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, but I've definitely like gone through like haunted areas. Like there's this old boys thing up in like McAdamville, I think, or like somewhere over there that they used to house like an institution for boys that's basically abandoned. So we would go through there and like find different things in like the basement, which was always kind of weird. But I've never seen anything there. But I did like grow up in a 100-year-old house back home in South Dakota. So like there's always been not I think the old lady that like originally lived there, I think she died in the house, and like our computer room was technically the parlor room where they would always have like wakes in the olden times. So like she just kind of hangs out there and like never anything menacing, but just like you always know she was there because like you'd feel like a sense of like a chill, but not like a bad chill. It was
I
just
understand. Yeah.
comforting. So it was like I always had a nana that was just always there watching me, which is kind of nice.
That's cool. Did you ever like see her?
I did not. My mom did. When I was like one, we had just moved into the house and mom was painting, and she looked back over her shoulder and was talking to her because she thought it was her mom because they looked quite similar. And she turned right around to finish like picking up something and turned back, and there was nothing. There was no one there. And she said she ran out of the house after that. She picked me up, like ran down the stairs, picked me up, went across the street to our old house. And then she was like, okay, this was fun. Just bought a haunted house.
All right. right. Well, do you want to give a shout out to your social media, websites?
Yeah, of
Anything?
course. So you can find me on Anya Official on literally everything. It's ONYA Official on Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, um, literally anywhere, which I've gotten really lucky that I haven't had to fight anybody for it. And then if you'd like to follow my drag business, it is DKO Entertainment. It's all me. You're just going to see the same flyers back and forth, but we do like 6 days a week, sometimes 7, sometimes multiple times a day events. So there's always something to do if you get bored, which is what I'm here for.
Yes. Well, that's it. What'd you think?
This has been so much fun. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you for coming on and wanting to talk with me. I really appreciate it. And shout out to Sarah for connecting us.
Yes. Oh, I love Sarah so much.
Ditto, ditto. All right, Anya Nerves. That's it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Maybe a girl was a drag queen that was here too.
People don't have health care. People don't have housing. People can't afford education. People can't even afford eggs and milk. And yet you're coming after drag queens and trans people?